Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 27 of a Disney Life podcast. I am Missy, and I am joined here by my friend and co host, Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hello, Missy.
So, I'm super excited for today's episode because Rachel just returned from a big trip to Disney and to Universal Studios in Orlando. So, we haven't talked since then about anything from her trip. So, this is my chance to catch up with her, see how it went with her and the family, and just chat about her trip. So,
Yeah.
anyway, we're happy that you're all here to listen and follow along with us. The first part of her trip was Universal, so that'll be today's episode. And she just did so much in this trip. We're actually going to break it into two episodes. So next week, you'll be able to hear about the Disney World portion of her trip. So we appreciate you being with us today to follow along. We have a listener question later on about the refill cups at Universal, and our top five will be our favorite things about Universal Orlando Resort. So we appreciate you being here with us today and listening to our little chat. Thanks for being here. All right, Rachel, it is great to have you back. Let's get right into things here. First of all, I'm not even totally sure who was on this trip. I know you and the kiddos,
Yeah.
and your husband was along this time. Was anybody else with you?
So for our Universal part, it was just the five of us, and we were joined by my parents, my dad briefly during our Walt Disney World part, which we'll talk about next week. Now, my parents did actually go to Universal that weekend. They picked up my niece who lives in Florida, and they took her and a friend to Universal for the weekend. And we met up with them on our last day, and we'll talk about that too. But yeah, so this was kind of one of our first vacations really as a family of five. So this weekend
Wow.
part, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of fun. And was it good? Was it not good? Like, tell us, tell
It
us
was
right off the
it
start.
was
Was it a good time going with just the five of you, or was it
it
like,
was
wow,
a
we need
great time.
mom's
We
help
had a
still?
we had an excellent and wonderful trip, and if you know anything about Universal, you do know it's geared towards bigger people,
Right.
not
So
necessarily
your
toward.
husband, I mean, I feel like this was really about
Yeah.
Super Nintendo, and your husband is what this probably started as. But
Yes. I've mentioned before on the podcast, and I'll mention it again, there is a competition between Disney and Nintendo in my household, so, when Epic Universe was announced, my husband just immediately said, "Universal is now part of our Disney trip," so this was, definitely a time to go and explore Epic and to see everything that that park has to offer, and we were excited about it. I was excited about it too. Have been excited for the opening of Epic Universe and to see everything there, and I really think Universal did a great job with it.
okay, all right. So let's get right into it with what you did, what when you arrived and all that. Tell us all the good stuff.
All right, so our stay at Universal was technically November 13th through the 16th. We left Thursday early afternoon, had a long drive. When we do drive, we have to drive through Atlanta. So if you know anything about Atlanta traffic and the amount of stress that puts on you
Mhm.
and time too, we ended up getting to Cabana Bay. It was around 1 a.m., technically on the morning of November the 14th.
Oh, Cabana Bay. So did you have one of the family suites
Yeah,
there,
so we
or were
had a
you
family
okay?
suite there, and I'll also say I was surprised at checking in at 1 a.m. on November the 14th. There was a line to check in. I was about
Really?
yes, I was about the 4th or 5th person back, and there were, 3 team members who were working the front desk, so I was kinda surprised to see that the lobby was still kind of alive at that moment.
Uh-huh.
There were some people who were sitting at some tables at the bar was not open, but, there was quite a bit going on. It wasn't as quiet as I expected it to be, but we did have a family suite, which those sleep 6, so that was perfect for our family of 5. We took my youngest pack and play just because it's convenient, it's easy, she's used to sleeping in it, and, definitely wanted her to go to sleep as quickly and easily at night as possible, but the family suites, they do have a kitchenette as soon as you walk in, and we had an exterior entry door. We were in the Thunderbird building, which is kind of opposite of where the lobby is located. And so we had it open out to the exterior, but we could see the pool kind of from where we are. We could see where one of the pools. And you walked into a kitchenette. There was a bar with some stools to sit at. They had a beverage cooler. And it did note on there that it was a beverage cooler, not a mini fridge. So, and a microwave. There were also shelves, which came in handy for storing things.
all the stuff, all the things you pull
All the
out of the
stuff,
stroller at the end of the day
so
and
much
toss
stuff.
somewhere.
Yeah, and we brought, a bag of snacks, and we brought breakfast for the kids to have each morning just so we could get out the door in the morning, but there was a fold-out sofa, so when that came out, that really kind of took up that entire space. It was kind of hard to
Mhm.
navigate from there, but at the same time, we also had a stroller in the room, so that takes up a lot of space too, and there's a fold-out sofa with a TV in the kind of living area. There is a room divider, and on the other side, there's 2 queen beds, and then you have the bathroom. The bathroom is a split bathroom. You had the shower and a sink on one side, and then a sink in the middle, which was open out to the rest of the room, and then a toilet stall on the right-hand side. So, it was easy to have multiple people getting ready in the morning, which was nice. I did like that about it, but my kids kept saying, "This hotel room is so small."
Oh, really? So I
Yes.
will say they are very often compared. I have so much to say. I'm like taking
Yeah.
notes as you're talking. So I'm like, hold on, I have thoughts on
Yeah.
this. Okay. So concerning the room specifically, then I'll backtrack to a couple other things. They are very often compared to the family suites at Disney World, obviously for many reasons. I don't think they are equal to them in any way except for that they do sleep the same number of guests. They do sleep 6 guests and they have the kitchenette area. There's no separate bedroom at Cabana
Right.
Bay. Like there's a separate bedroom at Art of Animation and then over at the All Star Music
Mhm.
family suite. So that's one major thing I would say, especially if you're mom or dad. One benefit is that Cabana Bay has the 2 actual queen beds rather than one queen bed and the 2 fold outs. So
Yeah.
there are some pros and cons, but they really are just kind of one larger hotel room with a divider in them.
Yes. Yes.
And I
Yeah.
can imagine once you got the stroller in there and a pack and play and your things, that took up most of the space.
It did, definitely, and there was a call I mean, it very much reminded me if you've stayed at, like, a Comfort Inn and Suites or something like that, where you've got the 2 beds and the fold-out sofa, it reminded me a lot of that, and I kept telling the kids, "The room isn't small, but just with all of our stuff, it feels small." So if you didn't need to have the sofa out, it was fine. If you didn't have a stroller, and we only had a single stroller on this trip, but we did have a single jogging stroller. I wanted to get something where my kids, if my older ones got tired, they could also sit, if the
Mhm.
youngest one wanted to walk. So, but I mean, it was plenty of space for us. We had a lot of drawer space, which was nice. The divider
Mhm.
area had some drawers in it. And so we were kind of able to, put kids' clothes here, my clothes here, my husband's clothes there, so that was easy to get ready and get everything out. I like to set everything out the night before, so that way in the morning as we're going, we get up with just enough time to get out the door for
Right.
for what time we wanna get out the door with just enough time to get out there. So we try to have this thing down to a science. But yeah, I will definitely say, even if, you're looking at the All-Star Family Suites, which I think are great suites, I think they're great spaces and great utilization of spaces, it's not the same. It definitely is not the same. And it's the same if you're staying at Surfside or Dockside, they call that a two-bedroom suite. That is a very misleading title because it's not 2 bedrooms
It's
at
2
all.
separate sleeping spaces, but
Yes.
not 2 bedrooms, right?
Yeah.
So the at over at Dockside and Surfside, the Endless Summer Resorts there at Universal, they have a separate bedroom and then 2 queen beds out in the main living area. So
Yeah.
I'd say they're actually more comparable to Disney's family suites
Yes.
than to what the Cabana Bay one is because there is a separate closed off with a door room with a queen bed. It does not have its own bathroom there
No.
at Endless Summer. The Endless Summer resorts just have the one bathroom, unlike Disney. So, again, if you're comparing pricing, almost always Disney's is going to be more expensive than those options. And it's because it really is a different type of family suite
Yeah.
than what you have
Yeah.
at Universal. So,
Yes.
back to the 1 o'clock arrival and the lobby being busy. That's kind of crazy, but I know what you're saying because I've been there before kind of at all hours and it's always buzzing. You have
Yeah.
is it the Swizzle bar? I feel like I'm confusing it with the Swizzle Inn in Bermuda, but I swear it's also called Swizzle something.
It
I didn't
might I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, there were people
Okay.
sitting at there were I mean, it's right there in the lobby. It's a good location, and there were people there sitting there. When we came back from other nights at the park, there was always live music going
Uh-huh.
at the bar area, and there were always a lot of people, but the lobby, just the whole area, yeah, I mean, it really was kinda buzzing, and we didn't see anybody out at night as far as around the exterior of the hotel, but, It holds a lot of guests, but it never felt too crowded. I will say that. It never felt too crowded while we were there, but I was very surprised because, when we checked into Walt Disney World later that weekend, we checked in at night, not nearly as late, but it was pretty dead at that
It was
point.
quiet.
Yeah, it was quiet.
Getting off track a little from what I was trying to backtrack to, but what you just said made me think. Were the park hours later at Universal than they are at Disney? I feel like Disney just closes so much earlier now than it used to. And whenever I say used to, I'm talking about pre-2020.
Yeah.
I feel like we just don't really get those super late hours anymore like we used to have at Disney. It's more often extra ticketed events, after hours events if they're doing later night things. Is it possible that Disney's dead at night because things are closed down earlier, Universal later?
Well, Epic closed at 10, but Islands and Studios
Okay.
closed at 9, so
Oh,
I
wow.
would
So
who
not.
knows? Right,
I've
but
got
City
nothing there
Walk is
then.
open later. City Walk is open later. Disney Springs, I think, closes down at 11 still, but when they had
Okay.
Pleasure Island open, it used to close down later, but, City Walk
And
is
you
open pretty
You have
late.
a whole different setup there too, with City Walk basically
Mhm.
being your next destination between the park and your hotel. You're going through City Walk,
Yeah.
regardless of where you're staying. So I wonder if maybe that keeps people up and lively a little bit later than, nobody's leaving the park and going by way of Disney Springs to go back to
Right.
their room. Like I can think of like one or two reasons why maybe you would need to do that, but it is not the common thing to go by way of Disney Springs before bed.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
okay.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned you were in the Thunderbird
The
side?
Thunderbird building, yeah, so we're in the Thunderbird building, and, nothing really particular to talk about there, but I will say, since it was an exterior entry, they did do a great job. There was the parking lot, which you do have to pay for parking at these resorts,
Okay.
and you needed to have a key card to get into the parking. There was a security gate there, but we also had to have our key card to get into there was a security gate to even access the stairs of the building. So,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so I was kinda surprised by that. My husband's did not work on our last morning, so, uh, yeah, I guess they cut it off, but it was early. It was not even checkout time, and so he was loading up our vehicle, and, he called me, he said, "I can't get back in."
You're out. Sorry, buddy. So if I remember correctly, was the resort built in 2 parts that the side you were on were all those are all exterior entry, what I would call motel style exterior
Mhm.
corridors like the All-Star resorts or Pop Century. The other side, the interior corridors are the newer towers that they built around the time that Volcano Bay was opened. So it's kind of side by like one side or the other side. You're either on the side of the resort that has the exterior entry, or you're on the side with the towers that has the interior entry. But the
Right.
rooms themselves are pretty much identical. I've had both of them before. And
Yeah.
the for the rooms in particular that I had, either in the tower or the exterior entry, the rooms themselves were the same as far as the family suites are concerned. It's just the location. And then you're able to go to whichever side of the resort you want because there are 2 big pool areas there.
Yeah, there are 2 big pool areas. We did not venture over to the other side of the resort, but, yeah, everything was exterior entry from where we were, and, yeah, we just never ventured over, we didn't spend a whole lot of time at the resort
Right.
itself. We did more on our second I guess, yeah, our second night, which I'll talk about, but there is we were not on the Volcano Bay side, and I know that there are even some two-bedroom suites there too that are actually larger suites where you can stay at, and I think the Volcano Bay side has some of those as well.
Okay. I didn't realize that. I was thinking it was just the family suites there. So
Yeah,
good to know. All
there are
right.
some larger ones, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, carry on. Now we know where you stayed. So sorry, I
Yeah.
kind of sidetracked there, but I don't think we've ever really talked through Cabana Bay that much before. And
Yeah,
really, I think it's my favorite Universal resort. I've stayed at most
really.
of them, I've toured them all. I think it's an ideal option for if you have somebody going there, especially for the first time and they have several days to spend in the parks. They're not worried about getting express pass at one of the upper level resorts. I think Cabana Bay is just ideal.
Yeah.
I've stayed at Surfside. Surfside I stayed at when I went down for the Epic Universe preview in this spring in May, but that's like kind of so far out there. I love that Cabana Bay is close enough. You could actually walk. We've done it before. We walked to City Walk from
Really?
there.
Okay.
We did it back before they actually had the walkway thing, and now they actually have one like to get you over the traffic on the highway. But it was not recommended before, but now there is a path you can do that, or you can walk over to, is it Sapphire Falls? Would you come to first? It's been a while since I was there. through all the hotels. But we've walked to like the next resort and taken the boat also.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, I like the boat transportation there. We used
Mhm.
bus specifically. We
Mhm.
did not
The
attempt to
buses are
walk.
fast. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with the buses. They are speedy
Yeah,
there.
yes, they are, and we were told a couple of times, when we checked in that the bus would pick us up and then head over to Aventura. It never did, so I guess they were running buses separately to everyone, but, we got into bed, my husband and I did, got the kids ready for bed as quickly as we could. We did not get into bed till about 2 a.m., so it was a
Um,
very long day for us, and then he said, "So what time do you plan on getting up?"
oh no, that's exactly what I was just thinking. Please tell me you
Wait
weren't
a
rope
minute.
dropping in the morning.
Oh. And he was like, "Please, please, please." So, we did not rope drop. Now, I will say staying at on property, you do get 1 hour early entry access, which is kinda different. Actually, everybody can get in at 9 a.m. They don't hold you off to a certain area like Walt Disney World does,
Oh,
but you can't get into certain areas of Epic if you're not a resort guest.
okay.
So you could actually get into the Wizarding World at 9 o'clock if you're not a resort guest, which I'll talk about later. Anyways, so I was wide awake at 6:30 in the morning,
Oh,
and yes, I rolled over, looked at my husband, and I said, "I'm going to get you up so early when we go to Disney World," because he knows that is where I do not relax on vacation. So, anyways, we got up, and the kids slept in the van. The kids had fallen asleep probably about 10:30 at night. All 3 kids were asleep in the van, so they slept. So I did not put my kids to bed at 1:30 and got them up 5 hours later. They had slept previously.
if you did, I'm not judging you. If they're
Okay.
up and ready for the fun, then I'm good with that, and so should everyone else. Because
Yeah.
if they're up and ready, then let them go. I don't care what
Yeah.
time they went to bed. You're on a big trip, and if that's what they want to do to have fun, let them do it.
Yep. So we got up and we were in the park by 9:20,
Okay, that's pretty
and
impressive.
yeah,
Okay.
so we did good. So we missed the first bus to Epic, and then it took a little bit for the next bus to come. We would have been there earlier had it not been for that. And by first bus, I mean there was a bus pulling away as we pulled up to it. So it's okay. And then we decided, so I said, okay, we've got two strategies because we're going to have 2 days here. So our first strategy was head over to Super Nintendo World. And we wanted to do the Minecart Madness in the Donkey Kong Country area first because I know that that is probably the one of the 2 more popular rides there. So we got in line immediately for that. It was a posted at a 25-minute wait ride. This is probably one of our most anticipated rides of the entire trip. So it was a jerky ride. I will say that if you've got back problems, it is a jerky ride, but it's supposed to be. It is not supposed to be necessarily a smooth coaster because it is very nostalgic for the Donkey Kong Country video games if you had played those growing up. So
I did not, so I
okay. I did actually play the first 2 growing up, so this is why I was excited for this one, but it was a neat
Mhm.
ride, it was a fun ride, and my 2 older kids rode it. We did not even just attempt to see if the youngest one could ride it, so, they had a family room there, but my son and I rode it first, and then my husband, son, and oldest daughter went back and rode it the second time, and I took the youngest one out and, realized everyone had had breakfast but myself and my youngest daughter
Oh,
at that
no.
point. So, we stopped by at a little stand, and I got one of the turtle shell calzones, which I
Okay.
believe that did you have one of those when you went to your preview?
So, I didn't get one myself, but somebody else did, and I did have a taste of it. It was kinda
Okay.
early in the morning for me to have was it pepperoni or something? I was like, "Why are
Yes,
you
it was
eating that
pepper
right now?"
it was like a meat lover's calzone, which,
Yeah,
I had at 10 a.m., so there
they
you go.
looked good. They looked
Yeah.
good, but I don't think I actually ate it.
Yeah, so I got that, and I picked up a mango smoothie. We love mangoes here, and so I thought, well, that'd be fun for my husband and the kids to share when they get off the ride too. So, I had a turtle shell calzone at 10 a.m., and it was good. It was good. My youngest daughter and I split that. So after that, we went and rode Yoshi's,
Mhm.
which is just a
Super
cute
cute.
little super cute. That was our longest line for the day, and I don't know if it
Wow.
broke down while we were there, but we waited for probably 45 to 55 minutes. It was just under an hour that we waited, and, at that point, it was kind of one of those things, it was like, okay, we were up early, rushed to get out, so, we had lunch at Toadstool Cafe
Okay, so let
over
me
in
ask you this about
yeah,
your weight. Okay, so what I remember about riding Yoshi's was When I was there were not very long lines because we got in during that, like, preview time frame that
Yeah.
they were doing before the park officially opened. And in this particular area of the park, I felt like there were so many steps, up and down steps, up and down steps. I feel like I was so rushed getting on to Yoshi's, I was almost out of breath because it was like, what is that? There was, like, spiral steps up to there or
Yes.
something, like, that they
Yeah.
curved. So when you waited, was it, like, down and through that area? It's like through
Yes,
the
it was
steps,
down
so
into
it was,
the
like, a
area.
little calmer of an
Yeah,
experience?
and yes, and you kinda weave through the line. In fact, at one point, they even opened up doors, and we went outside to wait too. Yeah, there was an outside area, and so which, like I said, I believe it broke down because the ride was closed for the next 2 days after this
Oh,
day. So, I
okay.
don't know why, but it was completely closed, and so we were glad that we did it on this day. But, yeah, we went outside, and it's the spiral staircase is right
At
when
the
you get
entrance,
on
right?
the yeah,
Okay.
right when you get on the attraction. So, there is a spiral staircase there because 'cause you're going up in a tree and, and it's
I
actually
mean,
the
I
ride
may have
is
just been tired because I was running all over the area,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
like, checking it all out and up and down and everything before we
yeah,
actually did any rides. So, I mean, it felt like a lot for me at first, but that was, I think, the first thing we did the day I was there. So, by the time I
yeah.
got there, it's like, wow, we were just all over the place.
And there are now I didn't mention any of this. Yes, we did. My kids have the Power Up band. My husband has a Power Up band too, and my 2 oldest ones
Of
do. We
course
did
he
not get one
does.
for the youngest, but yeah, of course.
Well, good for him.
So, yeah, they have Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach. And so they ran around, got some things done, and we actually came back to the area that night. I had not seen it at night. Now, last summer we went to Japan and we went to Universal in Japan. And so they have opened up the first Super Nintendo World there. And it is, I think
I
it's an exact
forgot you
replica.
had seen that. So this was not
Yes.
technically brand new for them. They
Right.
had seen, okay.
Right. This was not brand new for us. However, the Donkey Kong area was not open when we went. So that was brand
Okay.
new. And that was a lot less chaotic. There were not stairs, there were not multi levels to the Donkey Kong area. So that was a lot better if you don't want
Mhm.
that. But it's still very interactive land. You can play on different parts and they have drum beats and things like that. But we went had lunch at Toadstool Cafe and we ate there in Japan last summer too this time, and we kinda were there a little bit early. It was about 11:30 in the morning, but we walked right through, and I think it's funny because when we were in Japan, we had to get into a virtual queue to even try to get into the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so this one, we walked right through and, went to the counter where we had ordered in Japan. So, I mean, this is an exact replica. And there were probably 4 or 5 team members standing there, and they were like, "Oh, keep going." And I was like, "Okay." So we get to the very front where and they were seating people, and so we kind of walked over to the side. I was like, "Oh, they want us to mobile order." And so I started mobile ordering, then I realized, no, they're seating people, telling people to sit down and then mobile order from the table.
From your table, that yeah.
Yes. And so by that point, we already had everything in our cart that we wanted, and we went and got a table and completed our mobile order. And you scan a QR code or enter in the table number from there, and they'll bring your food
They'll
out
bring
to
it
you.
right to you.
Yeah.
Yep, that's how, so we had the same experience where we dined, and it was, I forget what it was called, but it was the Dracula
The
area, like the
DOS
steak.
Steakhouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works the same way there. Did you eat there on this trip or no?
We did not eat there. I had it on my list, but we actually ended up not eating there. My parents did, and they really enjoyed it. So
Mhm.
they did not like the mobile ordering. So I think
I
that's
didn't
very much
either. Did we have a lot of questions? My problem with the mobile ordering there, I was curious if you ate there, not necessarily because of the food, but because we had no service in that building and the Wi-Fi wasn't working. So we could not mobile order. We ended up getting up and going outside to get enough cell service to be able to order our food and then went and sat back down. So I
oh,
was just
wow.
curious if they've remedied that at all, like, because we had tried
Yeah.
connecting to the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi wasn't working in there. I don't know if it was just that day or what, but I know sometimes people aren't too keen on logging on to public Wi-Fi like
Yeah.
that. So I really wasn't thrilled that, I mean, I don't typically mind myself, but I know there are people who, for whatever reason, can't or don't want to with
Mhm.
their mobile devices. So it just seems strange to me that it was really required. And they pushed us right past the counter where there were cast members standing where I think you could normally place an order. We also had a little difficulty figuring out some things with allergies when we did it in personalizing or like customizing orders also. So hopefully that's something they work on through time. But at least you weren't
Yeah.
standing there in a long line waiting to order your
Yes.
food. So I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate that. I love that you already have a table and you're seated
Mhm.
and ready. I'd rather that than carry my food from a counter anyway, especially if I had a husband and 3 kiddos with me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes,
because that's a
yeah,
lot of food to be dealing with and
yeah.
situating.
With small kids, it was super convenient, it really was, and I ended up not ordering a meal because I just had a calzone, but,
You did, you turtle
yeah,
girl. Yeah.
so the other 3 ordered, and then, my youngest and I just kinda picked off their plates too, but, it was very similar to the menu that we had last year in Japan. However, I thought the food here was better. Now,
Okay.
I really like Japan's food, but their version of Americanized food is not as good as actual Americanized food. So, but
Probably
yeah,
not
it
that
was
full of all the yucky stuff we put in our
yeah,
American
probably
food. That's the
not.
problem.
Yeah. So that was very convenient, to be able to do that, and I did like that aspect of what Universal had, but also I understand if you have difficulties with it, there wasn't a whole lot of help to be had,
Mhm.
and even where they had team members standing there, what looked like you could order, there wasn't a menu posted or anything like that, so you were
And
kind
I
of
think
stuck to your
it may have been, I can't remember exactly what happened with us, if it was somebody different who brought out our drinks, like our cups for our drink orders, then I know we received the wrong thing, and it was very difficult to get the correct cups. We had ordered the refill cups, and it's like a
okay.
whole thing, and it was difficult to find somebody to help us.
Now, we did stop and ask somebody at one point who was bringing things around because they have the freestyle machines in there, which is really nice. So if you do order a beverage, you've got the freestyle machines, and they did not. I
Right
don't think
there.
the cups were chipped if you just got a regular cup, so you could get a refill. But it was they were kind of hidden. They're along a wall, and we were sitting on the opposite end of the restaurant, and I had to ask somebody where they were because it was very hard to see where they were located. But we did have to stop and ask people. We got enough silverware just for the plates, which was fine, but, when you have kids eating spaghetti, you're going to have a mess, and so, no extra napkins or anything like that, so we ended up having to ask, for a couple more things of silverware because kids drop silverware and some napkins, but we just asked people as they were walking by.
Mhm.
I think that was the most logical thing that we could do at the time, but, yeah, so we had lunch there, had an early lunch there, but it was, no wait really to get anything, and, that was nice, and they did have plastic cups for us to go and refill, and then you left everything there, and they bust the table for us, so, that was kind of a nice quick service experience because you do kind of just get to sit and relax and wait for them to come, so I will also mention Super Nintendo World is extremely difficult if you have a stroller because it is on
All the
2 levels.
steps.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a step, you
it
see.
is steps. It's on 2 levels. It's probably I would imagine as far as the footprint of what people can go through, it's probably the smallest of the lands over at Epic or the portals, and, so they kinda build it on top of each other, but you enter in on the upper level, but you're on the bottom level when you go through the portal, so I had to go through the exit to get to the elevator to go up and then find the elevator on the opposite end to go back down to
Mhm.
get to where the entrance for the attractions are, things like that. So, it is not super convenient if you have a stroller. It's my least favorite for that aspect alone of having a stroller.
Yeah, and they do have, like you said, they have the elevator. There are accommodations if people have a stroller or a wheelchair, but they're not necessarily super conveniently
Right.
located just because of the layout of this land.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, but when we got into the Donkey Kong Country area, that's all one level, so that was really easy to navigate. But the other areas, especially when you have kids running around and they're wanting to do all these things, and it's like, okay, well, now I've got to go find the elevator again and get up or get down, and so and
Was there
my youngest,
stroller parking around anywhere that you could have like left it just to run around a bit, or does it not?
you
I've never done
can
stroller at Universal before, so I don't know, and I feel like it's not
Universal
as prominent there.
Universal's a little bit more liberal on their stroller parking than Disney is. At Walt Disney World, if you leave your stroller somewhere that is not designated stroller parking, you will find that it is gone when you come off an attraction because a cast member is going to move it. At
To
Universal,
the
it's going to be
appropriate stroller parking. Okay, so you
there.
basically just leave it anywhere? Is that how it
You
works there?
got it.
Alright.
I mean, we were considerate and they do have signs for stroller parking, so I always try to find something like that. That day, my youngest was very tired, so she wasn't getting out of the stroller
Right,
much,
you
which was
needed it for
fine
this,
with
yeah.
me. But she did wanna hit some blocks and everything like that, which of course we let her, but it was easy to let my 3 big kids, my husband and my 2 oldest, go and run around as much as they wanted to. But after that, after lunch that day, we went because we knew we were coming back to Super Nintendo World to see it at night. We went to the Isle of Berk, and so that for my children, that was the highlight of their trip, and I think that was the highlight of the entire trip was to be able to go to the Isle of Berk.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so, they are huge How to Train Your Dragons fans, they've seen the movies, they have seen the television series that's have been done for Netflix and a couple of other things. My son has been reading the books, and so they were super excited to go and see the Isle of Berk, so that was where we went to next.
Okay. I honestly have never seen any of the movies,
Okay.
so I didn't really know what I was seeing when I was there. I know that it looked really, really cool. I
Yeah.
appreciate it for what I knew of it, but I was there with friends when I went the first time, and my kids weren't able to go for that preview with me. So when we eventually get down there for a family trip, I do promise I will watch the movies before I go because I understand that to be fully immersed and appreciate all of the work and detail that went into each of these portals, I needed to know more than what I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yes, and I had only seen the first one years ago, and I honestly thought it was just okay, but my kids loved it, and so we watched the other ones, and I still kinda think they're just okay, but as
Well, now I'm like
far
super eager to do that.
as far as spaces go, this was really neat. It really was. Having all the different dragon animatronics just around the area was really cool, and, we
Mhm.
saw so many characters out. There were a ton of team members dressed up. Several characters from the films were out during times. My kids got so many pictures with them, and then just different Vikings that were out and, interacting with guests who were there too.
Mhm.
So we really enjoyed it. We spent a lot of time over here. We rode Hiccup swing gliders. Did you get a chance to do that when you were there?
I did not. Nope, that
Okay.
looked to me like something that would make me ill.
Well, that was the roller coaster. So, all things wing gliders is the roller coasters. Dragon Racers Rally is probably what you're talking about, which I
I'm
could
talking
understand.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So, I didn't do any of the rides in that
Okay.
area. We were limited on time, and I thought a roller coaster and the spinny ride, I was like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling that today." I had done some stuff in other areas, but yeah, so I didn't really experience anything. We walked through that, and we tried to
Yeah.
go to a show, but we missed it, and it was the end of the day, so unfortunately, we didn't get to see the show either, so
So, Hiccup Swing Gliders is the roller coaster over there. It's a
okay.
family-friendly roller coaster, no inversions whatsoever. I think this was our favorite ride in the entire park for those of us who rode
Oh,
it.
wow.
So, yeah,
Okay.
it was very well done, and it was long. It was not a short coaster and very smooth. So, if you have any sort of back issues or anything like that, obviously you need to listen to your doctor. But at the same time, it was a very smooth coaster. So,
Okay, well,
we rode
maybe
that.
next time I'll give it a try. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it was very we really enjoyed it. And, we did Dragon Racers Rally, which is the one that kind of you're sitting on one side, there's a dragon on the other, and it kind of windmills you, and you can control the
Yeah,
wind.
that's the one
Yeah.
I thought you it was the flyer ride.
Yeah.
Yep, that looked
So we
nauseating. Yep.
At that point, my youngest was asleep in the stroller, and we had utilized several of the family rooms at that point in the day, but she was asleep while we were over there. So, Universal did they do have paper passes you can come back with for child swap.
Mhm.
So, I let my husband and son go on Dragon Racers Rally first, and while my youngest one slept and my oldest daughter, they had some money to spend. We let them, we usually give them Disney gift cards, but we knew going to Isle of Berk, they would want to spend some money there. So we were going to the different stores to see something. But my husband texted me when they were about to get on. And so I waited and watched for them. And I'm watching all these people just try to, slowly turn on this. And I see about the third pass, somebody come through and they're completely upside down. And it was my husband. He was trying to get a
Wow.
barrel roll going, and he could not, but, bless him, he tried. But it's like the one upside down person was of course, it was
And did you get a photo of this?
I took a
Is there a
video of it.
video? Okay, amazing,
Yeah,
amazing. I need to see it.
so, I had a good laugh over that, but then I went back on with my son, and, if you don't want to do the turns, it's actually a really nice ride. So, it did not I did turn a little bit, I was not trying to go upside down on that, but we had a really it was a nice ride otherwise. And then afterwards, we did the fire drill, which is the boat ride where you're shooting at targets. We did not get really wet until the end, so you will get wet
But you did get
on
wet,
that.
huh? It's
We did,
happening.
yes, we got really wet, and I my husband was like, "I don't really know that I wanna get wet," and I will say our weather was perfect the entire trip. No rain whatsoever. Highs were usually 80 to 81 during the daytime. So this was, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which sun setting early, but it was still nice out. We decided to go ahead and get on. That day was our coolest day of our entire trip. It was about 78 degrees. So we get on and the poor baby, she got soaked. Absolutely.
Oh,
And there's one part towards the end, if you do ride this one, where you kind of turn and you're facing the other boat in front of you temporarily. And they have a great shot at shooting you with their hoses. So be on the lookout for that.
it's gonna shoot at the poor little girl, like, "No!
Came from
Who are they
behind.
shooting at?" Like, "Come on."
So it came from behind. I think they were aiming for my husband. He was sitting on the opposite end
I'm
of us,
sure that was it.
and it went right over him onto her. So we did that, got soaked. And then afterwards, we decided, okay, let's keep exploring the area. We were running out of steam for sure that day, but we wanted to do something with all of us awake that we could all do, which was Constellation Carousel.
That's so pretty in that area. Was it
Yeah.
dark at that point?
It wasn't dark at that point. It was we were definitely getting closer to sunset, but it was not fully dark
Okay.
yet. But I will say about this, and that ride typically has about a 10-minute wait posted. That has the longest load and unload times of an attraction I have ever seen. It was it was ridiculous. I really, which I knew it's a different type of carousel. I guess I didn't realize everybody has a seat belt.
Mm,
So everybody has to be belted in
belted
and
and
then
then, like, check to make sure you're belted
and
in and
checked, yes, to make sure everything's
mhm.
appropriate. And also they ask you even before there are basically 2 types of ride vehicles you could be on, which type that you wanna be on, and they put you on this side depending on what type you wanna be on. So, we were actually separated from the oldest 2 kids because of what they wanted to ride on, which was fine. My husband went and checked on them to make sure that they got on okay and safely before he came over with, the youngest and I because she decided
Uh-huh.
she wanted to ride a dragon, so there was only 1 vehicle type that we could be on for that. So
Naturally, yeah,
of
okay.
course, right. So we did that, but it was posted at a 10-minute wait, and that probably by the time we got in line, to the time we got off, probably 30 minutes had passed just
Uh,
because of the load and unload times that took so
wow.
long. But yeah. Yeah.
There's gotta be a more efficient way to do that.
You would think so, and there were plenty of team members there, so I don't know if they were just over it for the day or what, but,
It wasn't dark when you started the process, but it was
yeah,
midnight
but
by
it was
the time
getting
you
there.
got on the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. So, afterwards, we went over to Dark Universe, and, it was getting dark at that point, and we went on to Monsters Unchained. So, we went through the queue, and it was a very neat queue. We all went through it all together. I will say if you have children who are easily scared by things, it might not be the best one to go through. There's nothing jumping out at you, and one thing that drove me crazy about when the King Kong attraction opened at Islands, not the original one that was at Studios, but they would have actors. Do you remember this at all? They would have actors in queue in the walls that would, like, jump out at you or grab at you.
That's terrifying. So
It is
I no,
terrifying.
I was not at Universal Orlando until I was an adult, and I've only been there a handful of times, and it's been
Okay.
recent years. I did visit Universal Hollywood,
Mhm.
1987, which would make me 7 years old at the time. I remember some type of back tour type ride that you
Yeah.
would ride by at, like, in and you entered some building, and there was a giant King Kong there. He was
Yeah.
enormous and terrifying, I can tell you that. That's the extent of my Kong knowledge there. But if they had options for people to jump out at you, no way. Nope,
Yeah. Well, and I
terrifying.
didn't know that going and they have since, I believe, taken that, away, and I hope so because somebody would get punched. I would imagine you jump out
Uh-huh.
and scare the wrong
Yeah,
person.
it's dangerous for the cast members,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So but, my 2-year-old was okay as my husband held her through the line, but my 6-year-old,
Mhm.
she was like, "Please don't make me ride this." She was getting a little bit iffy on
Aw.
everything, and so I told her, I said, "You don't have to ride this. We're walking through the line together." and it was a walk on. We walked right into the pre-show, and then, my husband took the 2 girls over to the family room while my son and I rode it, and then, we swapped off from there. So did you ride this one? I remember you going through the queue. Did you ride
Nope,
this one?
I loved that, chicken out room, whatever you're
Okay.
calling that room, I don't know
Yeah,
their
don't worry.
term for it. I loved that room, there was a bathroom there, I was like, "Hey, they know what they're doing over here at
Yeah.
Universal if they have these rooms for people who are not riding." Yeah, I did not ride it, I kinda wish I did, and I may in the future, but that day I kinda know, like, I do have some motion sickness issues, and it just depends on the day for me, and it seems to be when I am tired and the most exhausted,
Yeah.
that's when I end up feeling the most
Mhm.
nauseated. I only had 1 day there, it came off of the end of one of the most exhausting weekends of the entire year for us. It was terrible timing for me to head down there with my friends and do this, but it was the day that I had available, so I didn't experience a lot of it, and not all the rides were even open at that point when I was there, but
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would try that in the future because the people with
Yeah.
us that rode it said it was fantastic, but I just wasn't feeling up to it that day.
So, when you get on, it's if you've ridden the Hogwarts Castle ride over at Islands of Adventure, same kind of setup as far as you sit in the seats with that style that come down, you're sitting
Mhm,
4 or 5 across, and then they take you off. Now, for me, the Hogwarts Castle ride, if I am not feeling 100% okay, I will not ride it because I typically don't have motion sickness issues. That ride will make me motion sick. And same thing
okay.
with you. If I'm tired, I'm exhausted, or if I'm too hot, I just can't do that ride.
You know, you can
But it
and I
was
have
not
done that. I've done all the other
no.
Harry Potter
Yeah.
rides and everything there. I never did Velocicoaster, but, and I don't think I'm ever going to, but I have tried things, it's not like I haven't done
Yeah.
anything there, but
Yeah. So it was very similar in that way, except I did not find this one as overwhelming or nauseating as I did
okay.
the other one. There are much less screens, and I think with the Harry Potter one, they kind of move you towards the screens, and you're moving, and they're moving, and I think that's where the motion sickness for me comes into it. You don't
Uh-huh.
have that with this one, but they laid you down on your back so much. It's like, is this necessary the entire time to ride this ride? You know,
Yeah,
laying
like
face
that.
down, but
Yeah. I do love that they seem to have less screens in Epic
yes.
Universe than I feel they have in their other parks. When I first visited Universal, I feel like it was 2017 or 18, so several years ago at this point. I feel like I was much younger then than what I'm doing now in the math in my head. But anyway, I can remember coming out of there saying, "Why don't you just put me in a dark room, put an iPad in my face, and shake it all over the place, and force my head to watch it?" Because that's like how I felt on so many of the rides. So
Yes,
I'm thrilled that even though I didn't experience everything at Epic Universe, it was not just screens all over the place like it
right.
could have been, and what I kind of thought it was going to be when I first heard it was going to exist. So that's
Yes.
a
Yeah.
very good thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and there are screens in some of the attractions, but this was not the majority of the attraction. The animatronics in this ride are absolutely amazing, and I will say, I know Tammy, when she was on the episode talking about it, that she does not like werewolves. She's never allowed to ride
Oh, no.
this one
Oh,
because
no.
there is
She'd
definitely
be
a
terrified.
werewolf chase scene, and, it comes right out at you, so but this ride also the whole weekend that we were there, it never had more than really a 15-minute wait, which I think is kind of
Huh.
a walk-on, and I honestly wonder if this is almost an oversight on Universal's part. I really thought they probably thought this was going to be a much bigger attraction than
Uh,
it has turned out to be, but, it's not a super popular ride, but it's a very impressive ride, and especially if you were a fan of old horror movies, this is kind of a must do for you. So, very impressive, very well done, but, not very popular. I
well, I think it's
also
up against I'm sorry to cut you off.
oh, yeah.
I think it's up against a lot of really great rides in that park. And
Mhm.
because of the way Universal's selling their park tickets for Epic Universe, I feel like most people who are going to one day of Epic Universe.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to choose what they care about the most. And there's not always time for every ride within your day. So I feel like that may be one because you really have to be a fan of that specific type of film to really want to experience that. I just think
Mhm.
there's enough geared towards other things in the park that it's kind of lower on people's list. So I don't think it's a bad ride, but I
Right.
think that there are just so many other things that may be better than it that maybe over time when people are when the ticket types change and it's easier to visit that park for less of a cost, it might
Yeah,
be, not that it's ever going to be less expensive, but unless I so I'm pretty sure it still works that, you buy your however many days Universal tickets plus an Epic Universe day.
yeah,
It's not like right now, it's not, I'm going to go to Universal for 5 days and 3 of those days I'm going to go to Epic. You can't
right.
do that, right?
Right, not
With like your
not
one
currently. Now
ticket.
it's changing for next year, it is changing for
Right.
next year, so it will be interesting to see how lines form next year, but right
Hmm.
now, if you want to add on you're basically buying single day tickets for Epic,
Right.
and if you know anything about how park tickets work, single day tickets are more expensive. Tickets get less expensive the more days you have, so yes,
Right.
I
Less
think
per
and I
day. Yeah,
yes,
less
less per day.
expensive per day
Yeah.
if you have more days, so.
Right. And I think, Universal was obviously they're excited about this new park. It's a great new park, but I do think they wanted to maximize guest experience. So I understand kind of why they did that for this year
Mhm.
to kind of hold off on some of the crowds for this. So yeah, will be interesting. Now, we did not do Curse of the Werewolf that night because the wait
Is
time
that the
was
roller
just
coaster there?
it is the roller coaster there. It was
Okay.
60 minutes at that point that night, and we just thought, oh, with the girls were not gonna ride it. We didn't
Mhm.
feel like waiting in line with them again on anything, but I did want to go and see the, burning blades at the tavern.
Uh-huh.
Walked all the way over there. There were no blades on the tavern.
Oh, why? What's happening?
No, no blades whatsoever.
Are you sure you're in the
Um
right place? Where did they go?
So which we there a team member who was in an acting role walked by, and she actually had prosthetic makeup on that made it look like she had claw marks, across her face,
Are you
and
sure? It
so
might
she
have been
stopped and
real.
yeah,
Could have been
it
real.
could have been. She's
It
still a
could have been
werewolf,
that
so,
werewolf.
struck up a conversation with her, and I just said, "Oh, I was looking forward to seeing these," and she just kind of in her role just said, "Hopefully they will be back soon," or, something along those lines, so we left the Dark Universe area. We wanted to head over to Wizarding World after that, so we were
Mhm.
hitting up as much as we could, and we went over to the Wizarding World, Ministry Magic. I loved it here. I thought it was beautiful. I loved the Paris scenescapes and everything. It did not disappoint for that, but I wanted to grab dinner where you grabbed a meal during your preview
Mhm.
trip at the Café L'air de la Sarine.
Yes.
So,
I remember
yes,
being there. We had an issue there. Was it crepes? There was something that like some machine or maker or something was broken.
yeah, something
It
didn't
took a
come out
really
right.
long
Somebody's
time for us to get.
food was really long. Yes, yeah, yes. So, I remember you talking about your food there and everything that was ordered, and I thought, "I
Mhm.
really want to go try that."
It was
So
good. It went once we well, I think it was good for the 4 of us who got food. The 5th one ended up giving up and was like, "We're wasting our time here. My food's never coming." Again, because it was a situation that you had to mobile order, and since we were 5 individuals, we ordered individually, and our food came out. It was more than an hour. I don't think I'm exaggerating on that. I mean, I know I talked about it on the podcast at the time, so I can go back and fact check that with myself. But it was a very long time from when the first person got their food to the last person who ended up not getting her food. So that's a little
right.
bit of a downside. And if I had kind of thought, I mean, at Disney, anytime I've ordered my food mobile order, like they're all kind of ready around the same time. I know this was an off day for them and there was something wrong in the kitchen. I don't think it's a normal thing for it to be that length of time between meals being prepared. But if I was doing that again, I would probably kind of make some plans ahead of time like, all right, I'll order this meal for everybody in our group and then, somebody
Right.
else do the next one. Like we'll square away at the end to make sure everybody paid their correct amount for their meals and none of our friends are getting ripped off. But I think it'd make
Yeah.
it happen a lot faster that way and more
Yeah.
efficiently.
Yeah. So we actually had an order issue here too.
Oh no.
But not no, well, not nearly the same. And I think this is an oversight with how the system works too. But anyway, so we got in. The restaurant was probably only half crowded. It was getting a little chilly. I would have loved to have sat outside, but it was getting a little chilly, so we decided to sit inside. And there was a team member working at a register taking orders. So I originally had gotten in line, and then there was a menu there. But what I did not see on that menu what I wanted to order based on the mobile ordering menu. So then I realized that, oh, they're just helping some people. We can still go and sit and mobile order. So we went and did that. And I got, it was a turkey baguette. that had brie, apples, arugula, apple butter, and mustard, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely delicious. It was a huge sandwich. I would probably say it was a
Okay.
good foot long, and I ordered french fries with it. The french fries were also really good there. They're kind of a garlic parmesan french fry,
Okay.
and my husband said, "Oh, I'm not gonna eat. I'll just grab a snack somewhere later. I'll go back to when we go to Super Nintendo World, I'll get a calzone with the calzone that you had or something like that." He ended up taking half of my sandwich because he liked it so much. So we
One of
split
those
that for
guys,
dinner.
huh? Yep.
Yes, one of those. But I will also say, so by that point, I needed some caffeine, having running off of 4 hours of sleep at that, time. You
Mhm.
cannot order a soda in the Wizarding World. They do not exist
No, no,
in
you
Wizarding
can't.
World. So I was still running off fumes, but where our issue came in, so we ordered chicken tenders and french fries for the kids. They enjoyed theirs. The drinks, though, my oldest daughter really likes pumpkin juice, and so she wanted to share some with my husband. Apparently, with the drinks, they go through a different 2 different order systems. So you have someone taking care of the food and someone taking care of the drinks. We never got our pumpkin juice.
Oh, no.
And we got other things, and, when the food came out, we said, "Hey, we're still missing the pumpkin juice," and they said, "Well, that's a separate system." They handle that separately, so my husband went up to where the drinks were and said, we're still waiting on this," and they said, "We're still working on orders." He ate our meal, still no pumpkin juice, and so at that point, he just went up there again and just said, "Can you just give me my pumpkin juice?" And so they did, so
Yeah.
I don't it almost makes you wonder, do they close out an order, mistakenly? Or actually, no, the pumpkin juice was the only drink that we ordered. So,
Hmm.
because we had bottles of water with us, and so the rest of us just drank those and they got a pumpkin juice, but it almost makes me wonder once the food comes out if they just close out the
If they
order.
close, yeah, that must have just been some kind of mistake because I can't imagine they're really that far backed up with drinks that people are getting
Right.
cooked meals and then
Yeah.
finishing eating them because before they can bring you a drink. That doesn't seem
Right.
right. Hopefully, that's just a one-off situation
Yes.
also, but we'll see. I
Right.
don't know. I guess we'll
Absolutely.
have to get there again and see what kind of experience we have with that. I'm glad your
So
sandwich was good at least.
It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I really enjoyed eating there, but after when we were sitting there, we realized the battle at the ministry had a 45-minute posted wait time, which is really low for that ride. So we got in line and we moved pretty far ahead. And I'm sure several of you have seen photos of the line at this point. It is impressive. It is so neat. And when we went through the flu system to get there, I have a video of this. I was filming my kids and my husband going through it, and he was holding the hand of my youngest child and the, fog went up right as she was going under, and she just turned around and noped it. She was like, "I'm not doing this." So that was funny, but anyways, we got in line, we moved very, very far into line, and then the ride broke down. And so and so I was like, "Okay, listen, we've got to be pretty far into this." We moved very quickly through it, "Let's just wait." So we waited about 20 minutes and kept getting the, "We're sorry it's down, we're sorry it's down." So we decided to get out of line. We didn't wanna waste any more time. We had another day at Epic. We were gonna do that ride first on that day. So we got out of line. The ride never reopened that day, so we made the right choice.
You did make the right
Yeah.
choice, yeah.
Yeah. But then we went back to Super Nintendo World. They have these things, these challenges that you can do with the power up bands, and you can get keys. And you had to have so many keys to do what was called the Bowser Jr.'s Challenge. So my husband and kids were working hard to get those keys. So we let them go. They did that. So they got their keys. And then we went to Bowser
When you
Jr.'s
say
Challenge.
they
They
got
let
keys, is this like a digital key you see in an app?
Yes,
Is
it
it
is
a
a digital
physical key
key.
that you're taking home?
So,
Like,
it's
what are
a
you
digital
getting?
key, and everything is linked up to your Universal app. So, you will link your power band to your app, and you can see basically the points that you get while at Super Nintendo World on the apps. I think what
Okay.
Disney was trying to do with kind of the Play Disney app, Universal actually kind of took
Mhm.
it a step further, I will
Okay.
say that.
Does that still exist? I forgot that was even a thing. I don't think I've even noticed it anywhere except for like the Rise of the Resistance line in years.
Yes. Yeah, and it was supposed to be a big deal how people treated you in Galaxy's Edge, remember that? That credits you
Yeah.
earned and things like that, and then
Yeah.
nothing ever came of
That didn't
that,
play out.
really.
People couldn't even figure out where
No.
the bathrooms were in Galaxy's
Right.
Edge. I'm like,
So
the Disney gave us too much credit for what the world is
yes,
today.
they did.
People can't think it through. You have to tell them on a screen where they are. Yeah.
Yes, but Universal did a really good job of how, making it competitive in the app. And so they got their keys. You have to prove that you have your keys to a team member, and they let my youngest Meredith and I go through the Bowser's challenge with them, and this was super fun. I was so glad that we did this. You are in front of a screen, you're standing on a dot, and you can see your shadow cast out in front of you, and you're blocking, different things. You have to duck, you have to jump, and all this other things to defeat Bowser Jr. and his little minions. But it was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun, and they
I
even
can
shadow
see how
captured the
that would be
two-year-old.
appealing to a lot of
Yeah,
people. I feel like
yeah.
the cookie stroll over at Epcot is more of my speed of the game to play. Buy 5 cookies and get a spatula.
Yes. So we did that, and, by the time we got through with that, Mario Kart had about a 15-minute posted wait time, which is also very low. So, we got in line for that. Meredith, it's a 40-inch height requirement. Meredith made it through the first 2 checkpoints
Oh,
for the
no.
40 inches, got to the last one, and they wouldn't let her on. So my husband was not very happy about
Is
that, but
she
I was like,
right
"It's
there
okay."
at it? Is that the thing? Or did they have varying heights on their
She
measurements?
was right there at it, and when you have a two-year-old and you're telling a two-year-old to stand up straight, you get a lot of different variations of a two-year-old
Oh,
standing up
yeah, sure.
straight,
Yeah.
and I mean, I would even not even a quarter of an inch of a difference, like,
Mhm.
it's not even a visible difference, it was, they're having to put their hands on her
Push your
head to
hair
see.
down to put
Yeah,
yeah.
push your hair down, and, I'm not one of I did I'm not one of those, "Let's make them wear big
You're
shoes,"
not
or,
shoving
"Put
things in her
push
socks
their
or
socks
anything like
in."
that?
No, not at all. So she didn't make through that, so he went and, I took the 2 oldest kids on that, and he went and did that, um, with them afterwards. At that point, we were getting close to our limit, and the kids had wanted to meet Toothless all day. And we were told by a team member that the line for Toothless closes at 9, even though the park closes at 10. They cut off the line at 9, but that the line gets significantly shorter as the day goes on. It had a 90-minute wait earlier in the
Wow.
day. Yes. So they got in line about 8:45, and we had about a 15-minute wait.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Meredith and I were a little bit slower behind them getting over to that area. I think we had stopped off at somewhere and, I don't even know, maybe I changed a diaper. I have no idea what I did. Anyways, but then he called me. He was like, "Hey, we're very close to the front of the line." So we got over there quickly and got in with them. The team member knew that we were coming to get in. So that wasn't an issue at all. But that was a very, very neat experience being able to meet Toothless. Hiccup unfortunately went in about 2 families before us, so the kids did not get to meet Hiccup, who is the character that trains Toothless. Hiccup is the
Okay.
main
I'm like, I
character
have no idea who that is. I
of
don't know.
it, of the storyline.
Somebody had the hiccups. What's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but they will tell you the team member will tell you the appropriate ways to interact with Toothless. There are certain ways that you cannot touch Toothless, so, you have to keep that in mind too, but
Okay.
so, yeah, but we got to meet Toothless, have a great family picture with Toothless and a Viking friend there, and, that was the end of our first day at
Wow,
Epic
that was only
Universe.
one day? Wow.
It was only 1 day.
How
We
many
packed in a
days
lot.
were there?
We
I
were
feel
there
like
at Universal for 3, yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of things you just did, actually.
Yes. We actually did everything but 3 attractions during that day,
Okay.
and I will say if it wasn't for the fact that we had to do rider switch, we would have done everything.
Okay.
Um,
So it is possible to do all of the rides in one day there. So, I mean, when we're
it is. If you
saying you can't buy multi-day tickets for there right now. I mean, in 2025, you may not really need one, but it's going to be a long
Yeah.
day.
Yes,
So,
and it takes some strategic planning, which we tried to utilize, for that. So, I'll just roll right in. So our next day was Island and Studios. We had park to park tickets. Islands opened up at 8 a.m. for early park entry. We did not get there at 8 a.m. We got in line for Hagrid's about 8:45. Wanted to knock that out. Figured it would move quickly because I've been in line before over at where the Sinbad show used to be, way far away from the attraction queue.
was
I
a
know.
Sinbad? All right, carry on.
Is, but, and the line moved so quickly, but we got in, line at 8:45. It did not move quickly, and I
Oh
think
no.
I have not been to Universal since Hagrid's was included with the Express Pass. That definitely changes things.
Hmm.
Um, we waited probably 2.5 hours,
Oh
which
wow.
is hard when you have kids with you. At one point, there's a line that has a long back and forth between it. I Jordan and the kids actually went over in a corner and sat while I went through the line, and, because I had to pass back by them towards the end of the line.
Uh,
So, they sat there and that was perfectly fine. I was more than happy to hold our place and let them go sit because when you're going through it with a 2-year-old, that's a lot to ask for a 2-year-old early
mhm,
in the morning. As much as I like universal system as being able to take your kids through the line with you on something like that, that's a long time to ask of small children.
mhm.
And so after that, we were decided, okay, let's just go ahead and get lunch. So we got in an early lunch at Hogsmeade. And I will say, Hagrid's is one of my absolute favorite attractions, period. And it's worth a wait for me, so,
Wow.
but that was a long wait. But, we got lunch at Hogsmeade after that. I wasn't in the mood for fish and chips or chicken tenders and chips, so and they actually had a pumpkin soup and salad that I got, and so the pumpkin soup was interesting, it kinda had a nutty flavor to it. My husband took a bite and he said, "What's there's something in here I don't like." So it's like, "Okay." Sorry to hear that. I was
Well,
expecting,
that's
I
good. So
guess, a
you're
little
not eating my
sweeter.
lunch today?
Yeah, "You're not eating my lunch today, it's mine today." So and then afterwards, we decided to head over to Seuss Land. We wanted to get some attractions in that the girls could do, we could do as a family.
Mhm.
My oldest, he's 9. He is a thrill seeker at this point. He was not too happy about it, but we reminded him, "For every ride we did yesterday, you got to do it twice."
Mm.
So, it was kind of a
It's
suck it
good
up,
to be him,
buttercup, like
like, for real.
yeah,
That's
like
a good
yeah.
deal for him.
Yeah. Yeah, so enjoy this. But we did the rides over in Seussland, the trolley, the Cat in the Hat ride, One Fish, Two Fish. If you've never been on One Fish, Two Fish, it tries to get you wet, so, be careful on that one. But after that, took him over to Velocicoaster. He had never done Velocicoaster before, did not think during our last trip he was ready for it, and as much of a thrill junkie and as much as he wanted to ride it all day, he was nervous, and so got on it and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go again." That was awesome. So,
Oh, good. I
my
was afraid you were
daughter
gonna say he chickened out.
no, he didn't chicken
So
out. I
good,
wasn't gonna
good.
let him chicken out. And so we did that and, went on Velocicoaster. My husband took the other 2 on the Jurassic Park River Journey ride, which my daughter hated, but it is what it is. I let the baby nap. Then we went and took the train over to Diagon Alley. So if you have a park to park ticket, that is the only way that you can ride Hogwarts Express. Now, the line from Islands to Studios is usually not very long. The ride from Studios to Islands typically is long. This time we waited. This was one of our longest waits for the entire day just to wait on the train.
Really?
And had I not yes, we waited probably 40 minutes to get onto the train, and
Mhm,
the queue did not look all that long. I don't know what took so long, but if you have a stroller, you do have to break off at one point and go up the elevator. But,
mhm.
yeah, so we got out in Diagon Alley. Now, my 2 oldest kids have wands. Cannot find one of them, but we did find the other before we left home, so, they went around Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley to do some spells, but when we were in line for Hagrid's, the wand was dropped and the sensor broke off.
No.
Yes. And so we
That's
were
a
wondering,
bummer
okay, is
after
this
you went through the
something
effort of locating it at home and packing it and
right?
taking with you, remembering to take it to
Right?
the park that day. That would be me. I would keep something safe at home because I was gonna save myself the money of buying one again, and then I would get there and then leave it in the hotel. Like, that's the kind
Yeah.
of thing that I feel like I do to myself. So, oh, no.
So,
So, what happened with the broken sensor?
we went so my told my husband's like, "What can we do anything?" I said, "Take him to a wand shop, not to Ollivander's, don't wait in line there, but take him to a wand shop and just ask, like, is there a replacement part? Is there something they can put on it?" And they actually let him completely pick out a new wand.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so they
Well,
actually
that was
had about
nice.
10 different designs he could choose from, and we picked out a brand new wand. Now, we bought this back in 2023. It's not like we had a receipt we didn't
Mhm.
even pretend that, "Oh, we just bought this." No, we pulled no punt. We just said, "Hey, this broke in line,"
Yeah, how can
and
we
they
fix
let
it?
him replace
Yeah.
it. So yeah, he picked out a new one. I thought that was a great from them. So anyways, the kids took turns. They had to share a wand because they couldn't find the other one. But after that, we went and rode ET. This is another long line. I think it was broken down. And then when we got up to the front, we realized they were only just running one side as
Mm.
well. But this was something also that we could do all together. Jordan, the big kids, got on Transformers. We asked them if they'd rather do Transformers or Spider Man. I like Spider Man better. They wanted to ride Transformers. So No, we kind of had was they're kind of the same attraction when you think
Mhm.
about it. So we said do one or the other. So they went on Transformers. And then after that, we did the Minions Villain Con Blast, which had not opened last time that I was there. This
Is
was
that
an
the one you
interesting.
stand and ride
Yes,
on, like, the
that was
conveyor
an
belt? Yeah, I've done
interesting it was a
that too.
moving
Yeah.
platform, yeah. And I will also say the guns that they give you are heavy. These are probably about 5-pound guns,
I
and they're
don't
not attached to anything.
I don't remember them being heavy. I do remember that you were, like, free to do whatever, and I had no
Yeah.
clue. Like, I did not
Yes.
understand what I was supposed to be shooting at through the entire experience. I still don't know. So, I guess that's
Yeah, we
something
were
I
just
need to remember
shooting.
to check it too. Yeah, just randomly
You're
shoot.
right.
Yeah.
Just
It
shooting,
was cool.
and I will say with this too, I think an oversight with that is that your color is everybody's gun color is the same, but your when you shoot, what you've shot is a different colors. Like you could find, your gun on the screen by shooting it and hopefully
Mhm.
locating it, but when you have 20 people all shooting at the same screen, it's easy to get lost in there. So I think that was an oversight. I wish
Mhm.
they could coordinate the colors somehow or anything. We did that. Very interesting concept. We wanted to have dinner at the Minions Cafe because my kids love the Minions movies, and but it was too late. The park was closing. I don't even. It was had to been before 9, but I want to say maybe it closed at 8 because I knew that we were going to have a little bit of an
Oh,
earlier night that
interesting.
night.
Okay.
So we wanted to go to the Minions Cafe. We were too late for that, so we decided we went back over to Cabana Bay and had dinner there in the food court area.
They have a great
And
food court,
so
like a
they
really large
do.
variety of food, I feel like. I've had some
Very
good food
large
there.
variety, a whole lot of seating. I wasn't crazy about the layout of it because you have to walk to the middle of the seating area before you can even enter in the seating area, so that was
Strange. It's a
interesting,
long
but
walk.
yeah,
And then
we
backtrack to
ordered
one end or the other to get your
back to
drinks
get
because
to
the
the
refills are on the
silverware and
ends.
drinks and
Mhm.
condiments and everything, but I ordered the kids a kid's pizza, and I got a side of ordered a extra side of fries with that. I ordered a steak meal, which was cooked how I wanted.
Wow.
They asked how I wanted my steak prepared, yeah, I was surprised, and then, came with 2 sides on that, and then hold on, sorry, excuse me. And then I got Jordan an ahi tuna salad, and he really enjoyed that. He wanted to go back the next night and get that again, but, we
Oh,
didn't.
wow. That's kind of
Yeah,
surprising. Something at a quick service, especially tuna. I mean,
yeah.
that's not easy to
So
do
it
correctly enough to make somebody want it a second day. So, wow.
Yeah, and these are big tuna steaks that they had on that, and all of that was for $54. So, it was a fantastic meal. So, our final day at Universal was a day back at Epic. We got up early that morning, got packed up. We'd gotten to bed at a reasonable time, so we wanted to go and make sure we got the Battle for the Ministry in, and there were 3 attractions we had not done. So, the app said that the battle opened at 10, but when we got to the park, we went straight over there. They were not checking for resort keys for you to get into line for the battle. So I was very surprised because it was not close to park opening time for the general public. But we went through, got off. We were actually off the ride by 9:45 with a 10 o'clock posted opening
Oh,
times.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a big
So,
bonus. You're already ahead for the
it
day.
was,
Very
yeah.
good.
And I will say the ride itself is very, very impressive. Meredith got to ride it. Um,
Yay.
I stayed away from spoilers from it, but I did wanna know that it didn't drop or anything like that. So the movement reminded me a lot of Star Tours, but on a larger scale from that. So it was huge. The attraction is huge. I can't imagine all the time, effort, energy, and money that went into this. But
Like Star Tours? Because now I don't ever want to ride it. I can't handle Star Tours at all.
so there were some screens. You were actually moving through scenes. It's not a solely screen ride, but as far as just kind of the movement of the vehicle was more like Star Tours. It wasn't a roller coaster. I mean, it wasn't like where the Hogwarts Castle ride where you're flipping all over the place
All
either.
over the
So it wasn't
place,
like
yeah.
that.
Okay. I
However,
have done all of the other Harry Potter rides at some time, so I do need
yeah.
to do this eventually. And when we were there for the preview, we couldn't even go through the queue area. We were in line. I think, just a couple people in front of us, and they closed it off, and that was it for the day. It never reopened. So I haven't experienced it at all.
Okay. Super impressive. And, even if you don't want to ride it, just go in to see the first main room. It's amazing. It really is. However, I would not wait more than 45 minutes in the future for that ride.
Okay, so to be clear, you were totally okay with waiting 2.5 hours for Hagrid's. but 45 minutes is the
Yeah.
max. I'm not judging you. I'm just like getting an idea for like, what ride is superior to the others. And obviously you're saying
Yes.
Hagrid's is far
Hagrid's
superior.
is the superior ride, and then I would say Escape from Gringotts over in Diagon Alley, and then
Okay.
this one, and then over yeah, so but it was impressive. It was very I will not take anything away from that. Super impressive, and, something which my daughter Meredith was 2 at the time, she could ride
Mhm.
it with us, so, that worked out very well. After that, we decided, "Okay, we need to knock out the 2 rides that we haven't done, make sure that we get those before the lines get crowded." So we went over back to Dark Universe, did Curse of the Werewolf. It
Mhm.
broke down, of all things, because of a door leading onto the attraction wouldn't open and close properly.
So
And
not an
so they
actual
shut
ride vehicle door, but
not the
like a
actual
door
ride
to the entry.
issue, just the
Wow.
door, and they shut it down for that. Well, we were there, and, we ended up getting passes to go through the express pass lane for any attraction during the day except for the Harry Potter ride and, Minecart Madness. But we waited it out because they kept fixing it, and then it would go down, like, 5 minutes later, but we rode it super short, but smooth. It reminded me, as far as the movements and the turning, a lot of Guardians.
Okay.
But not nearly on the scale of Guardians, not nearly the same attraction as Guardians. That's another one. Even though it had a 60-minute posted wait the entire time, I wouldn't wait more than 20 minutes for that in the future either. So just so everybody knows, my limit. And then we had Stardust Racers. That was the last one that we had not done.
Mhm.
And so we went on Stardust Racers. This is seriously an intense roller coaster. It put a lot of G-forces on our bodies. This was definitely more intense than Velocicoaster as far as that's concerned. Velocicoaster to me is more fun. This is very intense. It was still a great coaster. It was a very well done coaster, and it's a long coaster. I was very surprised at how long this one was for a twin coaster. But we did that one. And they also have a very nice family waiting room in there too. So, if
Good
you
to
need to go
know.
with
Good to
children
know.
or you don't wanna wait or you don't wanna ride, it's a very nice family waiting room, but you will experience a lot of G's on your G forces on your body. So, afterwards, we decided we wanted to get lunch again, and we went back to the Wizarding World and had the sandwiches again. So,
Wow.
um
So 2 meals that you doubled up on this week. I guess that
Mhm.
says a lot for their food and the quality. So that's
Yep.
good.
And I made my husband order his own this time. So no sharing. We let the kids cast some spells around the Wizarding World there, and then, we went back over to Isle of Berk, and we met up with my family. My sister and brother-in-law came for the day to Epic, so we decided to go and see the Untrainable Dragon show together at
Mhm.
that point, which, the show that you mentioned that trying to go see.
Right.
And, this was a highlight for the trip for the kids to go and see Toothless fly over us.
Oh,
So, that was so neat, and it's one of those things, like, even though it was the first time for all of us, I'm not watching what happened, which he flew over a few times, and it was, a long amount of time, so you got to view in, but I'm watching all 3 of their faces. Just
that's so sweet.
light up, the amazement. They absolutely loved it. That was a highlight. For me, that was the highlight of those 3 days, was just seeing their faces to
And
see
that's
Toothless
awesome
fly.
that your parents were there to experience with that and
Yeah,
see their reaction
yeah.
to that too. So
Parents were
perfect
there, sister
timing.
and brother-in-law, my niece was there, and so, I mean, that was very special, to have all of us there. So, after that, they actually had a baby dragon who was out, and so I took a few pictures of that, saw some more wondering characters. My 2 oldest kids wanted to go back on fire drill with my niece, and so, I let them go get wet again,
Uh-huh.
and,
Good
my
for them.
brother-in-law very graciously gave them money for a dryer, so they got to do that.
Wait, there's a dryer?
Then
What does that mean?
yes, they have the dryers that you pay money for.
I forgot about that. I've seen that. Like, do you go stand in it or something?
Yeah, you stand it they actually have a hot one and a cold one. So, you can choose if you want hot air or cold air at that point
Huh,
too. Yeah. So,
very cool.
they went and did that. I don't know if they chose hot or cold, to be honest with you, but
I wish I knew that there was an
after
option to go stand in cold air when I was there because I would have paid for that in May. It
yeah,
was exceptionally
I
hot
I
when
guess
I was there.
when it's 95 degrees, that's what you wanna do. But then so we decided we had those passes that we got from Curse of the Werewolf, so, Lincoln and I went on the Hiccups coaster again with our passes, and then, Jordan wanted to take the kids on the minecart ride, so he went over to do that. Meredith was asleep, so I just kinda wandered around the park, especially the center area, kind of checked everything out. through there, saw what I hadn't seen before, kind of explored on that while the others went on the mine cart, and then, Jordan used his pass and went on Mario Kart after that, and he was the only one in his entire car, so I said like, "That's pretty nice." And it wasn't even close to park closing time. I was kinda surprised. I don't know how he managed that, but we kinda snacked around, and then, that was our end of our day at Epic. We did everything that we wanted to do. We had a great day, and we had a really great time. So, Universal pulled out all the stops at Epic for sure, and I really enjoyed that. But, we drove over that night and checked into Orleans French Quarter for our Walt Disney World stay, which we'll get into in the next episode, but, just a few things for notes about that. If you drink water, Universal is your place with the freestyle machines everywhere. We were able to fill up our water bottles, that was super nice. I did like getting the table and then mobile ordering. Isle of Berk, super fun. Family rooms, love them or hate them with your kids, but if you don't feel like taking your kid through the line, if they're not being cooperative or like mine asleep in the stroller, Universal will give you a paper ticket to come back for a child swap. When we rode the Hulk at Islands of Adventure, they told us it was good for up to 6 people. So, I don't know if that's with I don't know if that's every attraction, but for the Hulk at least was. Also, something that was interesting, kids can ride alone based on height, not age. Disney is age 7, you are able to ride alone. Universal was based on height, and they always had height markers, indicators there for that. And one of the biggest also things that I noticed, trash cans at Universal are not for tables or for taking photos of your food. They are for trash
I'm
cans.
pretty sure trash cans are only for tables at Disney, but, like, nowhere else
I
but
know.
Epcot in the whole world.
Universal did
No
not
one
catch
else
on to
wants you
that
to
with
eat
your
on the
trash can
trash.
design.
And I'm pretty sure Disney's the only place I'd be willing to eat on a trash can as
That's
well.
true. Yes, very true too. Very true. But I will also say freestyle machines are easier to find than bathrooms are at Universal. We had difficulty
Mhm.
finding bathrooms at times. We had to use the app to find bathrooms. Not as prevalent, it seems like, in as opposed to Disney, where you turn around and there's a bathroom. Had a wonderful time at Universal. We'll be back again probably in another 2 years to explore Epic one more time. Well, over again, I guess.
So you said that at the beginning of this chat today, you had mentioned that when Epic Universe was announced, your husband Jordan had said, "Okay, this is now going to be a part of our Disney World vacations." So now that you've been there and you've done it, is it going to always need to be a part of your Disney World vacations, or will it be an every few year kind of thing, or what's the family consensus on returning?
So I think it'll be either every other year, every 2 years, to head over to Universal again. I mean, we wanna make the most out of it, but, we can't take big, long trips like this every single year and see
Mhm.
other places and other destinations and cruises and things like that that we wanna do as well.
Right.
So,
But I can
we've
see as the
and
kids
that's
get
kind of
older, they'll be more like they'll be getting bigger and they'll be able to do more things.
Mhm.
I know your son is old enough that he can pretty much do everything at this point, but the younger ones, especially your littlest, who started as a
Right.
2 year old and ended this trip as
Yeah.
a 3 year old, over the years, there'll be a lot more that she'll be able to do. So,
Right, absolutely. So that's kind of, that's kind of the where we're at too is kind of waiting on when we get out of child swap, park days will be so much easier in general, especially at Universal. And, she was able to do some things, but not even a majority of things. So that does get hard
mhm.
and takes a toll on your day too.
Okay. Well, I love that you had such a fun trip that you were able to make some dreams come true for
Yeah.
Jordan, getting him down there to Super Nintendo World to experience that. It's great that we have it here in Florida now and that you don't necessarily need to head all the way over to Japan to experience that. So I'm excited to hear about the rest of your Disney World part. So if our listeners are as well, be sure to tune in next week when Rachel and I will be chatting all about her Disney World part of her recent trip.
So, our top 5 for today, we were talking about our top 5 favorite things about Universal in Orlando. So, this is a very broad topic for us. We're not doing anything, we're not focusing down on specific areas or anything like that. We're just talking about our very 5 favorite things about Universals. Missy, what is your number 5?
It'll be interesting to see how this goes because we could have gone like
Yeah.
totally different ways with this. I don't know how specific you got about things. Mine are pretty general. I'm going to say
Okay.
for my number 5, the close proximity of the parks to City Walk, with the exception of Epic Universe. I love how that is all super close, and convenient. So that is my top 5. I love or my number 5. I love that you can that City Walk is available as a space outside of the parks to visit that you don't need a ticket for, and that it's a little basic extra add-on at the end of your day is somewhere to go other than just back to your hotel. About you?
So,
What do you have for
my
number
number
5?
5 is more specific. So, I do have some pretty broad things, but I do have some very specific things, and I
Okay.
said Velocicoaster. Fantastic roller coaster, super fun, super exhilarating, and I'm glad my son liked it too. So, Velocicoaster would be my number 5.
Okay. All right. So for my number 4, I have Volcano Bay. I think Volcano Bay is the best water park. I think it's the best water park I've ever been to. It's definitely my favorite water park in the Orlando area. While I do love Disney's water parks, I think Volcano Bay is just kind of a step above those. So I love that it's there. I love that it is so close to Cabana Bay. If we're going during warmer months when we're planning on visiting Volcano Bay, chances are we'll be staying at Cabana Bay because of its separate entry there. So it just makes things easier. So I just love Volcano Bay and that it's a part of it. But, I'm not going to call it a theme park like they tried to for a while, but I do love that it
Right,
exists.
right, yeah.
How about
Not
your
been to
number
Volcano
4?
Bay, it's on my list. We
You
just
haven't
haven't
done
been there.
that?
So my
I've been
number
there a
4
few
would be
times and I love it.
no, I'm not. Yeah. So, number 4 for me is Diagon Alley, and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter over at Universal Studios. I think that's the most impressive of the Wizarding Worlds, and it really does feel like you're just transporting into a whole other area. I like that it's spacious and wide enough. Hogsmeade to me is very crowded and very narrow, but Diagon Alley, they really did utilize a lot of space and did a great job with that area. So I love walking into that and seeing the books and films that I love so much come to life.
Okay, so I'm kind of there with you for my number 3, actually. My number
Okay.
3, though, I have it listed as everything Harry Potter because I wasn't able to pick out just one thing. I mean, I think it's safe to say 90% of people who are going to Universal are going there because they know about the Harry Potter things and want to experience that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's an exaggerated number, but for people who I talk to who are normally Disney people, if they're going to Universal, up until Epic opened, it was because they wanted to see Harry Potter. So I admittedly am not much of a reader. I have not read the Harry Potter books, but I did make it a point to watch all of the movies before my first time visiting Universal Orlando because I wanted to know what I was going into. And even as somebody with that limited amount of knowledge on Harry Potter, I thought their worlds were just incredibly well done there. That's my
Mhm.
number 3, all the Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I think I'm way more broad with mine than
So
yours. I do have a specific thing coming up.
is broad. I like that the Express Pass is included at Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure if you're staying at a Signature Collection
Mhm.
resort. Helios is excluded from that, but I think that's a excellent perk and benefit, especially if you have 4 adults staying together. It is a lot less expensive to go to one of those Signature Collection resorts and stay there than it is to buy the Express Pass separately from there. So, Universal said Epic is not going to be included in that. Not sure why. That maybe that will change in the future, but for now, it is
Over
not
time.
included in that. But however, that is a great perk for studios and islands.
Okay, so that basically rolls right into my number 2 because my number
Okay,
2 is
great.
the variety of resorts and price ranges and the fact that some of their resorts do include express pass. I love how that works. I love that if you want to be spending a little bit more for more luxury accommodations and that convenience, it's an option. So I used Express Pass several times. I think it's great. I think that when I look at planning a Universal trip, I'm looking at, okay, do I just have a day or 2 that I'm willing to put more money into a hotel and get that free Express Pass to do as much as I can in the shortest time possible? Or do I want to have an extended trip and have several park days, in which case, most likely, I'll be over at Cabana Bay and spend far less on the hotel but have more time in the park so the length of the lines isn't quite as critical. So I love that there's some
Right.
options there with that.
Yeah,
How about your number
absolutely.
2?
So this one is the last of my super specific ones, but this is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure that I waited 2.5 hours in line for because
I can't
it's
even
just
believe you
so well done.
believe you waited 2.5 hours
It
for
was
that.
really long. It was kind of ridiculously long. I was not expecting it to be that long because I've been in line before at that point and it was not that long, but it was. They were not lying about the wait time that day. Anyways, but it's just a very well done attraction and a lot of fun. It really is. And my kid let me sit on the motorbike, so I got to feel like I was driving a motorcycle around a Wizarding World. So
Okay. All right, so my number 1 is a very specific thing, and it's
okay,
a two-parter, but it's one thing. So here, come try to follow me here. In short, it's butterbeer. And while I have had it and enjoyed it very much on very, very hot days, the frozen version, what my favorite butterbeer type is, I was there one time in January and it was a cooler day when I wanted a hot drink. And I discovered that you can get hot butterbeer. And they also sell separately at the next little counter over in one location little bottles of Fireball. And you can put Fireball inside your hot butterbeer. And it's amazing. And it's absolutely my most enjoyable moment at Universal Orlando was having the hot butterbeer with some Fireball in it. So, yeah, they were
nice.
like, "We can't put it in for you, and you have to go over there to get it, but just so you know, it's something you can do." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna give it a try." And it was
I
great.
did not. I did not know that.
Yep,
Okay.
you can do it. I don't really know where I was. I can picture it in my head. I honestly don't even know what park it was in. It's, I don't know. There's, like,
I'm
stuff
gonna guess
along the one
Diagon Alley
walk.
because I think there's a bar close to a butterbeer stand there.
Maybe. So there were like little things that you could see, like maybe like a broom that moved or something along a wall, like it was in a corner. I'll check on it and I will let you know. But it is absolutely
Okay.
something. Were you there? We did a group trip back in January a couple years ago. Were you on that trip? We had all
No,
gotten
that
butterbeer at the
would
same time. That's where like
yeah, I don't
everybody
remember
got
why,
butterbeer at
but
the
I
same
wasn't on that.
time. And that's when I
Yeah,
discovered that. So
and you had
anyway,
a
okay,
fun
it's my number
butterbeer.
did. I have the best butterbeer. Alrighty, what's your number 1?
No, my number 1 is definitely from after this trip, Isle of Berk. And for me, I love the Harry Potter areas. I'm much more of a Harry Potter fan, but this was really special because of my kids' reaction to it. So,
Mhm.
thought it was just such a cool, fun area, and there were dragons everywhere, and, they spent a lot of time and effort and energy into making this a truly submersive experience, and so I enjoyed it. The entire atmosphere was fun. Having the Vikings out walking about, that was a lot of fun too. So Isla Burke, very well done, bravo, Universal.
Okay. Well, I think we could agree there is a ton of fun things to see and experience at Universal. Clearly, this is a Disney Life podcast. So we are both very Disney focused people, but we do understand that there are other things out there. We love to see it and experience it as we're able. Like Rachel, I don't think it's somewhere I'll visit every year, but I am eager to get there again in the next year or so and have my family experience Epic Universe since they weren't able to join me on the last trip. And it's just an overall fun place to be. So all right, good stuff for Universal. So, we do have a listener question today. Actually, that is a Universal related question. So, the timing on this is pretty perfect. And our listener asks, are the Universal version of refillable cups, the refillable mugs or whatever they are, I guess they're not mugs with a handle, right? They're more of a cup. Are they worth it?
They're more
So,
some of them do have a handle. It just depends on what you get.
I think there's a couple
But it's
different
not it's
versions
not
there,
like the
right?
big yeah.
So when I
Yes.
read this question, I feel like they're referring to the ones in the parks, not necessarily the refill cups you get at the resort. But I know there's a couple different versions of them.
Right. So there are definitely 2 main types of refillable cups there. There's a universal refillable cup that usually probably more themed towards universal things, but there are also Coke style refillable cups there too. Cost from the outside are pretty comparable. The more cups you buy, the less expensive that it does get for these cup types. The universal refillable cups, they can be used at any station that has a freestanding, not a freestyle Coke machine necessarily, but a freestanding Coke, meaning you're not getting bottles from there. A lot of the specialty non-alcoholic beverages are included in those refills, but you do need sodas are actually a small fee to refill those at a permanent station. So keep that in mind too that you are paying for those and you do have to activate them daily and that the activation is a lot less than it would be to purchase the cup for the day. You can also bring old cups back, which is a nice perk too. And you don't have to pay the cost of the cup, just the activation fee for the day. However, if you are a soda drinker, get that Coke Freestyle cup because once it's purchased, you pay $12.99 to activate it for the day, and you go to any Freestyle machine, which are plentiful, and you can use it as much as you want. You do not have to pay for refills throughout the entire day. You just have to pay to activate it for the day. and you can bring those back again as long as the chips still work. So I think it is a very good value. If you are a soda drinker and you know you're going to drink at least more than 2 a day, it's definitely worth the cost. And to refill it even the next day, even if you only drink 2 a day, just to even activate it the next day, you've got your money's worth at that point.
Okay. I agree with that. I think if you're going to drink that much soda, if you can and normally do consume that much soda in your life, I think it could
Yeah.
be a great value. I ended up getting one that day that we were at Epic Universe. I believe it was 19.99 for the cup that day. And if we had come back for future days, it would have been 12.99 discounted rate, like you had mentioned. So
Mhm.
that's great. You also mentioned earlier when we were chatting today that you saw more Coke freestyle machines than you did bathrooms. I can confirm that it seemed absolutely true for me as well because I drank a lot since I had the cup and then I felt like I was constantly looking for bathrooms because I drank so much. If you're not used to drinking soda all the time, I wouldn't say this is something you want to do for every day because you'll end up just dehydrating yourself on all of the sugar. The
Yep.
great thing is these freestyle machines do have water in them also, and anybody can refill with the water. So that's
Yes.
a extra perk also. So I would say if you have a multiple day trip there, you may not necessarily need the Coke for every single day, but it may not hurt to use it a bit. It is a good value for, I mean, for $20, all the
Yes.
soda you can drink in a day.
Right.
I think there is a 10-minute like wait period between refills. So you can't just like, don't try to get up to the machine and refill it and then dump in another cup and then immediately refill it. That's not going
Right.
to work, but there are smart ways to use it. There's ways to use it that are smarter than other ways, I guess you could say. So
Yes,
I thought that was a
definitely,
good
absolutely.
question.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you have a question you would like to have answered, please email us. We have 2 email addresses. You can email us at a disneylife at storybookdestinations.com or podcast at storybookdestinations.com. We also are on social media. We have a Facebook group called A Disney Life. You're welcome to join us there or check out our Instagram. Our pod is A Disney Life Pod. We also have a TikTok where we post throughout the week on that too. So we would love to hear from you and see you there. For this week's tip of the week, I will offer a Universal tip based on my own personal trip. So, Universal for your family is probably going to be best when your kids are at a minimum of 40 inches in height. Not to say that you cannot have fun with smaller children at Universal because we did, obviously, but that quarter of an inch would have opened up a whole lot of rides for my youngest child. So, 40 inches seems to be a baseline for a lot of the attractions there. There are several attractions that maybe have a 32 to 36-inch height requirement, but those are few and far between at Universal. 40 inches, though, you're good to go. Your whole family can have a great time at Universal. So keep that in mind too. It's a very different park from its competitor on further down the road, but still a lot of fun for your entire family. That's all we've got for our episode today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me drab on about my time at
I
Universal. We had a
loved
great
hearing
time. Epic
about
was
your trip.
wonderful.
I loved it, and I hope everybody else loves it too.
And
I
we
appreciate everybody listening.
And we will see you all next week when we talk about my trip at Walt Disney World.
I'm ready for that one. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.